What's up, guys? Welcome to the Walk On Warrior podcast, where we prepare young student athletes for next level success. I am your host, Coach Z, and listen, we have a real great guest on for you young student athletes today, as well as parents. Listen, he has been a coach at the next level for the last few years, and listen, most importantly, he is a recruiting guy, and we're going to help you guys understand the recruiting process and a lot of details in between. And and on top of that, he's a San Diego guy. So listen, we got a lot to talk about on this podcast. And so without further ado, Mr. Andrew Heffler, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me on, Coach Z. I'm thrilled to be here. I'm ready to get going.
So to kind of get it started, go ahead and give the viewers a little bit of background on you and where you're at currently.
Yeah, absolutely, sir. So everyone, I'm from San Diego, California. My parents are from San Diego, so I'm a San Diego native by trade and by heart. I played high school football at St. Augustine High School in San Diego, California, all boys Catholic high school. Our rivals, Cathedral Catholic High School. Coach Z used to coach there a long time ago, so I was a little shaky to end up on the podcast going with the Cathedral guy, but that's a story for another time. No, I'm kidding. I ended up playing at a Division III school, high academic school, Pomona-Pitzer College, located in Claremont, California. We had a ton of success there. Ended up being one of the winningest classes in program history. I played defensive line and defensive end there for 4 years. Played from 16 to 20, and then wanted to get into college football coaching. I knew recruiting was going to be a big thing for me because I helped out in the recruiting department for my alma mater. So I decided to take a leap of faith, went out to a small Division III school in Wisconsin, Mequon, Wisconsin, Concordia University, Wisconsin. And I was the offensive graduate assistant, running backs and tight ends coach. And I did that for 2 years, got my master's, and then had the opportunity to go out to an NAIA program in Canton, Missouri, known as Culver Stockton College. And I was the special teams coordinator and wide receivers coach. So if you're seeing a trend, I play defense, but I've only coached offense. And then recently I was at the University of San Diego for the last 6 or 7 months. I was an offensive and special teams assistant and really enjoyed my time there. And just recently I accepted a position at Southwestern College, junior college, located in the South Bay in Chula Vista, California. Had the great opportunity to work with Coach Oscar Rodriguez and his incredible staff, and I'm thrilled to be a part of it. I'm currently the offensive line coach. I'm the co-offensive coordinator as well, and I am additionally the outgoing recruiting coordinator. Outgoing recruiting coordinator is essentially I help the guys move on to their next program after their time is up at the junior college level, and I'm also the camp and clinic coordinator, and could not be more thrilled and excited to be a Jaguar.
That's awesome. Yeah, and those are a lot of titles. You learn a lot, not only about yourself, but a lot of these young student athletes that come in and out of the programs because, we talk about, there's about 100 guys on a staff or on a roster typically, but man, right. There's way more than that because you're intertwined. And you know how San Diego is. It's a real tight community with North County, East County, South Bay, just all over the place. So let's dig right into recruiting. So these young student athletes, we got these guys, we're talking about it off camera. You got a lot of young student athletes that are out there that are going to be underappreciated, undersized, under-recruited. Now, as a recruiting coordinator or a recruiting guy, you're going in there, you're recruiting these guys to come into the JC world. Kind of give a little bit of a 30,000-foot view of junior college, because I think what we don't understand about junior college is what hurts young student athletes, because a lot of parents, I think that you're failing by going JC. And for me, I think it's great because it gives guys a lot of an opportunity to develop. Not to name names, we had Tim Patrick with us a few years ago, who's now with the Broncos. He was about 180 pounds coming out of high school, very little recruitment. Yeah, he had a little bit of height or whatever. And then also shout out Jagger Giles. Jagger was an undersized guy, Helix grad here in East County, and developed into, now he's at Idaho State. I'm not saying that's for everybody, to go to Division I, but to give you an opportunity to get in and get out and develop, it's such a huge advantage, in my opinion, especially if you're a local resident, getting that waiver financially, because now you're not going to university where you end up spending $30K. You're in Iowa somewhere, no shade on the Midwest or anything, but San Diego kids aren't used to that, right?
Right.
So you end up going out there and things just aren't going to work out. Now you're in debt. Let's keep you home. Let's have you go play at JC. And of course, JC's got a lot of real good talent in there. We played Hollywood Brown a couple of years ago, Jason Pierre-Paul, some of those guys. And so really dig into that about the junior college level, you bringing guys in and how that process works.
No, absolutely, sir. So when it comes to the junior college level, I think it gets a bad rep just because, it's negatively viewed upon. You have stuff like Last Chance U that comes out and everyone's like, oh, is that how junior college football is? This is my first time directly involved in junior college level. I've recruited at the junior college level, and I'll let you know, the Last Chance U depiction of it is not always the most accurate thing. A lot of times at the junior college level, especially, it's an incredible opportunity for young players to continue to develop. If they're chasing those big time offers, maybe they are overlooked, underappreciated, or probably got some offers, and sometimes you got to take a leap of faith and bet on yourself. And I think the junior college level allows you to be able to do that and to continue to develop, because once you get going at any level of college football, it's pretty much a job. It is essentially a job that you have, and you have to make sure, obviously, you're taking care of things in the classroom, make sure you're taking care of your body, making sure you're handling your business, right? But what better way to do that than at the junior college level, when you get a chance, for 1 to 2 years to be able to truly maximize your potential as a student athlete and prepare, going to classes on your own, being held accountable, going through a weightlifting program and being able to showcase your film against other college athletes. Because the biggest thing when it comes to the junior college level, and when I recruited the junior college level, is the junior college guys are on a high pedestal for us at recruiting wise, because they have played college football and they have the maturity and the development that we need as a team, whatever program that is, to really take off and help us in the offense, defense, or special teams game, let alone, help our program and our school out and be valid contributors. And I think the junior college level, is a chance for guys to really maximize their potential and, potentially get better opportunities. Not everyone's a Division I college football player, but there are several great opportunities at the Division II level, the NAIA level, and Division III. And I think players need to understand that, going to the junior college level is not a bad thing at all, not at all. It's a chance for you to play college football and a chance for you to maximize your potential and to continue to grow as a young man.
Yeah. Well, and one size doesn't always fit all. And not everybody's road is the exact same. And what people don't understand when they go to when a young student athlete ends up going to a junior college, they go in right away and they play right away. Right. So if you end up going and you end up playing at an NAIA D3, D2, whatever, you may not be on a projection to play right away. So 100%. Now you're in debt after that first year and you didn't play and you're holding pads. I mean, it's just, for me, it's when you end up going to a JC or you go to a college, you want to play right away. And so we'll talk a little bit down, a little bit more in the podcast about what questions to ask when you're on your recruiting visits. But those are important things to ask. When you go on a recruiting visit or you go meet with coaches or whatever, you have to ask, how many guys are in front of me? Or what's the situation for me moving in your program? Am I a good fit for your program? Those non-negotiables. Because you don't want to be just thrown into something and not actually know everything all about it. It's like, and so when you end up going to a junior college, like I said, you play right away, you get that next level experience as a collegiate student athlete. By the way, you have to be an adult all of a sudden. You have to schedule your classes. You have to make sure you do well in your classes. Your classes may be in the evening, they may be before practice, they may be before in the morning time. There's a lot of things that you have to learn, right? You got to build relationships, communication, so on. So one size doesn't always fit all. And with that said, I always, like I said, in my seminars, when in my talks, I ask them, first thing I ask kids, how good are you? It's everybody we just, mentioned, like all kids that all think they're Division I and they're dialed in on D1 bound. But the problem is that, it's like 0.002873, whatever it is, to be a Division I player. And you start pushing all those D2, D3 NAIAs away, as well as junior college, and you put yourself in a bad situation. And so junior college, especially for locals, it just opens more doors. And also, last thing I'll say with that is like, I always put it on a scale. It's like, you go to a university, you go to a JC, after 2 years, you guys are making that projection. And after 2 years of JC, you end up getting recruited again, which is added benefit. And you guys all finish at that same point. And in most cases, kids have that much more because they've had to go through more. So, and talent level, I mean, you've recruited junior college kids. Talk about the talent level of these guys coming out after their second year versus first year high school guy.
No, absolutely. Players sometimes don't understand that, when you get into a college football weight room, you get stronger, you develop into more of a man. And again, you have a chance to really tone out and maximize your strength. Because again, a lot of players right after they graduate high school, they're 17, 18-year-old kids. And by the time they graduate from a junior college or leave from a junior college, they're about 19, 20 or whatever age, 20, 21 years old. And they're a grown man, by in the United States, by the age 18, you're considered an adult. And again, your body is developing and your body is changing. But again, you are playing against grown men when you play college football. And it's like, I remember when I was a freshman, I got hit first. I'm like, oh my gosh, wow, this is some grown man strength here. So the biggest thing is the talent level. A lot of people don't understand that there is a considerable amount of talent at the junior college level. A lot of people don't understand that Tyreek Hill played junior college football. Tyreek Hill is one of the best receivers in the NFL. Ever heard of him? And, there's a lot of great NFL players that play at the junior college level. And again, there's talent at every single college football team, and it's all about who has more discipline, obviously, and who has, the mental fortitude to be able to push through adversity, right? Because at the end of the day, at the junior college level, and any level of college football, Division III, Division II, NAIA, Division I, right? You're going to face all different types of adversity. So it's being able to really hone in and to continue to develop a certain discipline and mental fortitude to accomplish, any adversity that comes your way, whatever the case may be, on and off the field issues. And it's a chance, that's why I think football, is the greatest metaphor for life, because, playing the game of football allows you to really hone in and maximize your potential and just continue to go through different types of adversity that's gonna, help propel you for the rest of your life, because again, morning workouts might not be the greatest thing, but you have a 8-year-old son that needs to go to school. You're not going to just say, oh, just go Uber, right? You're going to take him to school, right? And if, you need to be, it teaches you how to be a good husband and a good man. And, that's why any level of college football is the greatest thing. And, if you're fortunate enough to get an opportunity, wherever that may be, I just think it's the greatest thing for you for the rest of your life to continue to develop into a great man, a great husband, and warrior on and off the field. No pun intended with the title of the podcast, but that's truly what it is, to continue to be a warrior for life.
Yeah. All right, so let's back up just a little bit. So we talked about JC. We kind of stepped into the collegiate realm. So let's go back to high school. So if you've got a young student athlete, let's say he's a junior and he's going into his senior year, and he's decided, all my friends are getting these looks, getting interest. I think I can probably do this as well. So what are some of the first things coming from you, Coach, that you would tell a kid to start doing? What can you do right here, right now to get prepared for this recruiting process, to maybe get you coaches' attention?
Absolutely. So the biggest thing when it comes to the recruiting evaluation, right? If you're a junior, the best thing, in my honest opinion, that you can do is you can make sure your Twitter or X profile stands out and is very structured. It has your height, weight, your GPA, your verifiable GPA, you know, and it has your huddle link. Because again, college football coaches at any level, Twitter and /X, that's what it's called nowadays, is used across the recruiting in college football. And, you know, it's a great chance for you. Make sure your profile's pinned too. Make sure your highlight film is pinned. It's a great opportunity for you to really branch out and meet other coaches, and, you know, tweet out your film and just make sure you have all the right categories ready to go on your profile, and make sure that you always put your best clips first. You know, don't be so accustomed to, you know, having the best music, you know, quite frankly, college coaches turn off the music when we watch film, but make sure you put your best plays first, and, you know, reach out to different schools. Prospect camps are a great opportunity for you to get evaluated, whether that may be. And, you know, if you go to a certain school and you go to their prospect camp, chances are there are going to be other colleges there, you know, because the college football world, right, it's a very small world. And the college, and then this profession is a fraternity. So you will have an opportunity, you know, maybe you don't get a Division I offer, but a NAIA program who can, you know, offer you a great scholarship was at the camp that you performed well at, you know, and it all comes down to roster, and then scholarship availability too. I think the biggest thing that athletes got to realize is that, you know, the recruiting process is going to be sped up quite very fast because of NIL, you know, and the transfer portal. So you got to make sure you really stand out. I think your X and Twitter profile is a huge thing. And I think, you know, again, you got to market yourself. You got to market your brand. You know, you got to make sure you're not following any, you know, stuff that doesn't make you stand out as a good football player. You know, you really want to make sure that your profile is all set. Your social media accounts are all, you know, conducted in the right manner, because everything is an evaluation for college football coaches when they're recruiting a kid. Everything's an evaluation. So again, right, you need to do your research. You need to find out what is important to you, right? If you want to be close to home, you need to research the schools that are around, you know, where your home is located. If you're not accustomed to leaving your state to go to a different state, then that's fine too. But you really got to figure out, right, what's important to you. Yes, facilities are great. Yes, right, you know, the field and stadium is great too. But at the end of the day, it does come down to the people. And I think the better chance you have of developing a relationship with whatever college recruits you is a great thing. And the biggest thing too is, I think that, you know, a lot of times you're going to be talking to a bunch of different schools. You know, a lot of schools we're going to want you to come out to their prospect camp, because that's a huge evaluation thing. But again, right, you need to make sure you are asking all the right questions and making sure that A, right, you can financially make it work, and B, you got to make sure that are you going to be able to make a difference, right, not only at the school but for the rest of your life. And I think you really need to factor that in, because at the end of the day, football, you know, football is going to come and go. Football, not everyone is going to be able to play at the NFL level or professionally. So you need to think not just the next 4 years, but the next 40 years as well. And your quality of life as well, I think, is a huge factor. Because at the end of the day, not a lot of people think about this, right? You're training in the morning or training throughout the day for college football. You're in the classroom, you're at practice, you're in the film room, you're in the meeting room, you're doing meetings, whatever the case may be, you're doing your homework. What are you doing for the rest of the 12 hours out of your day? You know, it can't be, you know, just simply playing, you know, the new NCAA video game or Madden, right? or GTA 6 or GTA 5. You got to be able to, you know, make sure you branch out and meet and continue to develop relationships off the field, right? Because you never know. You could meet your wife in college, right? And you could meet your best friend who's a roommate of yours, and he doesn't even play college football. So I think the quality of life component, when, you know, factoring in all the factors is very, very important as well.
Yeah. So so to give these young student athletes a little bit of perspective, parents as well, as a collegiate coach, how many in a recruiting cycle, how many student athletes are you recruiting or in your database?
Let's just put it this way. I've been at the Division III level. I've been at the NAI level. I've helped out in the recruiting department at the Division I FCS level, and I've helped out a little bit at the junior college level right now. There's a lot of there's a lot of names because you really gotta make sure, because college coaches, a lot of them cast a wide net to be able to see who's interested in their school and to see what type of student athletes they can potentially get. Again, right? I can't pinpoint a right number, and absolutely all different college programs are very different. High academic schools are very limited who they can talk to because they have to meet a certain GPA threshold. At the NAI level and Division II level, you can talk to a lot more student athletes. But again, the biggest thing is, getting on campus for a visit. That's something I forgot to mention as well. There is, reaching out to schools for an unofficial visit, even getting a tour of just the campus and the facilities, or even, sitting down with one of the coaches, wherever it may be, because they can tell you how it is. And then again, too, a lot of people don't think about this, right? Yes, college football coaches have a lot of names. They got to evaluate their film. They got to make sure, they're the right fit. They got to, get in contact with their high school head coach. That's a huge thing. But I have some advice for the players that are being recruited. If you're deep in the recruiting process as well, reach out to players on the current roster of the team, via Twitter or Instagram, whatever the case may be. Or some coaches may actually have current student athletes reach out to them just to, give them a better feel for campus. And they'll be honest with you as well. That's why there's a lot of player panels on recruiting visits, because they'll tell you how it is, especially coaches that, played at the program where they're coaching at probably at the graduate assistant level or analyst role. They have a, firsthand view of exactly what the school is like, what the program is like, and where the program's headed. But again, to answer your question, there's a lot of names, but if you really want to stand out, it's a chance to, go out to prospect camps, go out to showcases, and really, have you represent your high school in the best way forward, and make sure your high school head coach, has nothing but great things to say about you. Because at the end of the day, also, what does it come down to? Your GPA, right? So you may be a great football player, but if you don't handle yourself in the classroom, that's an even bigger issue and a huge red flag, right? And character, to me, is really where you start to separate yourself into being a college football player.
Yeah, I know you said a lot of real good things there, because, we're talking about academics. So let's talk about that. How about that? We'll just stop right there.
Yeah.
We'll talk about academics. So now young student athletes decided, hey, he's going to go and he wants to pursue this. Now let's talk about academics and how you can get prepared for that. I always mention, we talk about an athletic profile and how important that is, and the NCAA Eligibility Center. But dig into the academics. So, you being a JC, let's target it on that. So, a kid needs to go immediately straight to their counselor, and then you say, listen, this is my situation. I want to go play here. I want to do this. Now, what do I do? Most kids aren't going to know your core classes, GPAs, SAT, all those numbers, eligibility center. What are a couple things that you're definitely digging into, or what a kid should be paying attention to when they decide to move forward academically?
At the junior college level or at any level?
We'll just say any level. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. From the eligibility perspective, I mean, you hit it right on the head with it, Coach, where, you need to go to your academic counselor. And then also your high school head coach will have more information on that in terms of what will make you academically eligible. And then quite frankly, any level of college football, if you have over a 3.0, that's usually like a good threshold. And, some schools cannot talk to you if you are under a 3.0, and that is just the average GPA. I'm a firm believer you need to be able to pursue other opportunities. But again, right, if you're able to take AP classes, right? Like that's a huge advantage you have, and to do well in those AP classes as well. And then again, right, a lot of schools are becoming test optional, SAT, ACT, test optional schools. So yes, prepping for the SAT, ACT is great and everything, and the score will help you, if you do exceptionally well. But I think it's really imperative that you control what you can control, and it's your GPA threshold. It's very hard to sell, a school, whatever the level is, if you have a 2.3 GPA, cumulative GPA. Maybe you're figuring it out. Maybe you had an immaturity moment freshman year of high school. But again, everything is an evaluation. And, any program, if you are under a certain GPA and you cannot, take advantage of that, right? You need to make sure that you are handling your business in the classroom. I cannot stress that enough. Because and there's high academic and high GPA players at all levels, right? But that just gives the coaches a sense of trust that you are going to be able to handle your business off the field. But again, to answer your question, sir, it's about talking to your academic counselor and also a high school head coach. And then again, maybe reach out to a player that's at another level, right? Whether it's at the Division III NAI or Division I or Division II level, or heck, even the junior college level, and ask them, right, for advice as well. Because, your friends, like you played together, your brother's on the field, so they can give you some advice to help you out.
Well, there's, excuse me, there's 2 points that, you have to think about when you think about academics. Well, okay, so some schools are not necessarily, it's optional, SATs, SAT, whatever, all these different, but at the end of the day, when you get to a university, you have to be eligible. Right. There's just no way around it. So you can not take this exam, not take that exam, do all these different things, but you still have to be eligible. That's number one. Number two, having good academics basically says, hey, I'm not a high drama kid. Coaches 100%. Obviously, well, yeah, but I mean, think about it. Like a coach, when you come into their program, they don't want to have to deal with you outside of football. They want to say, okay, well, this guy, no issues. I don't have to go outside of my coaching duties and recruiting and do all this stuff. So now I can just focus on winning and doing my job on the field for these young student athletes. And so the drama is cute. It's huge because I was at the Division I level, but it doesn't matter at all levels. There's going to be some kids that are, it's just going to be drama off the field.
100%. Yeah.
And it's a discipline thing too. But it's just, you have to do that. And also, let's talk about the eligibility center, the NCAA eligibility. That there's two things with that, right? So you used to be also known as the clearinghouse, right?
Right.
Well, you have to, before you as a coach, say you're at the D3 and NCAA level, before you give me any sort of opportunity, especially financially, you have to know academically if this kid's eligible. Right? Eligible through the clearinghouse or the eligibility center, right? Sorry, I'm old school and I'm so stuck on that.
No, it's all good. At the NAI level too, it's called Play NAIA too, and a lot of guys wait till the last minute to do that, and it's the same. It's the NCAA clearinghouse, but for the NAI. Just fun fact for guys that are doing that, but.
Well, there's two things with that because number one, so young student athlete might say, well, what is that? I don't know what that is. Well, basically what it is, it's an overseeing body that's going to say, okay, this student athlete is considered an amateur, right? Mm-hmm. They didn't go to the Olympics as a wrestler when they were 16, right? That's number one. And then number two, whether or not you can get a scholarship through academics or that you're academically right? That they're not going to just take somebody that doesn't have all the core classes.
They're not going to take a risk. Yeah.
That's a part of the drama, right? Like, you think about it, like coaches are gamblers, right? Yeah. Everything's based on, most coaches aren't the best, for numbers and mathematics, but when it comes to percentages and gambling and knowing, risk versus reward, if you're a student athlete and it's between you and somebody else and your academics are poor, and you're not able to meet those requirements, man, you're out. Those coaches are going straight to the other person because there's only so many spots. And I mentioned this a couple different times throughout my seminars, but the third slide when I'm teaching these seminars and workshops is we're going to talk about your opportunities. Division I, you only have 85 scholarships.
Right.
FCS, you have 63. And then the list goes down the line. But those aren't total. Those aren't new scholarships. Those are just total scholarships. So those are the opportunities only for new guys. So you could only have at each level only 5, 10, maybe 12 guys that they're actually looking to bring in. So the competition of bringing in is that much more, high risk, high reward, and, hopefully less drama. So, and those are some of the things that, student athletes aren't going to understand. And for you and I as coaches, when we're bringing guys in, they don't understand how fast this process goes.
Yeah.
And if you don't, catch that wave, no pun intended here out in San Diego at the right time, you're going to end up being probably a situation you don't want to be in. So you obviously want to be prepared, as we say in the slogan, as best as possible going into this thing. We're talking about academics, but let's move forward. We'll talk about the mental side of this whole thing. So, I think we bypass that in regards to, in my opinion, the 3 phases, right? So you have the academics, you've got the athletics, whether it's on the field or the off season, getting physically prepared. But then we forget about the mentality, the mental side, and all the different mental gymnastics you're going to go through, especially for kids that are trying to get into this recruiting late and trying to just put it all together late in the game. Talk about the mental side of a high schooler that has decided to go and play at the next level, and how they can kind of stop in their tracks, take a deep breath, and put this thing together so they can move forward. Because their buddies over here might get scholarship offers. They might get this interest, and you're not getting nothing. So talk about that, being patient through the process.
Yep. No, absolutely. And in fact, I actually had I had this talk with my youngest brother, Justin. He actually is committed to St. Mary's for baseball. He's going to be playing college football college baseball, at St. Mary's College. And, he wasn't getting a ton of looks immediately, but, it always works out. It always works out. Maybe your guys are getting handed out offers left and right, and whatever the case may be, that could potentially lead to complacency. And it's a chance for you to, have a little chip on your shoulder. Maybe that's an incentive to work a little extra harder, and I think it's very important to really realistically sit down with your high school head coach or position coach and ask them to further evaluate you and have them give you an honest, like, where do you see me fitting? Which program where do you see my projectability? Do you think I'm an FCS player, or do you think I am, I'm a Division III player? Like, just have them be real with you. And I think from a mental aspect as well is football is very physically and mentally tasking on you, and, reaching out to, mental health services. I think a lot of people don't think about this, but going and asking and having the toughness to not only, tough it out mentally and physically, but also having the mental toughness of being tough enough to ask for help when you need it. And I think that a lot of people don't understand that, you go through these mental and physical warfares on the football field and throughout life, because it's very difficult. And I think from a mental aspect, if you can seek out help and not be afraid to ask for help, I think that will put your mind at ease. Obviously I'm a man of faith, and I think prayer, and, that you got to trust in God's plan, and you got to make sure that, you are living out as a young Christian or Catholic young man, and that you're doing everything you can for the betterment of God's work. And again, right, I think it's very important that you continue to develop a relationship with your family and ask them for help and whatever the case may be. But obviously, just know that you're going to trust the process, having faith and trusting the process that it's going to work out. And again, right, that whatever, it goes back to a different type of adversity, right? It's just another adversity threshold you're facing. So you're good. Another type of adversity you're facing. And again, you'll come out better from this, whether you get an offer, in a week from now or 6 months from now, you can, I really am a firm believer that, if you handle things the right way, right? And make sure that you do everything, that you can do, right? You shouldn't be focused on the outcome, right? Sometimes you can't always control the outcome, but having, the mental and physical toughness to propel, and again, trust and have faith in the process. And again, don't be so concerned about the outcome. Hope that makes sense.
Yeah. Well, and it's funny because we add more titles to our position as coaches. So something you mentioned in there, like if I was to write a resume as a coach, I mean, I don't know how much stuff I could put too much stuff on there, because right. But a lot of that stuff, because you were talking about your coach, and I want to talk about your head coach in high school. I got to talk about that and the coaches you're with, because young student athletes need to be stopped in their tracks and understand that you have to have mentors. You have to have people in your life that are going to help you boost you up, obviously through the adverse times you're talking about, but always remember your head coach. So when let's talk about, I don't really want to talk about visits yet, but when a coach comes in and is visiting your school on that first go around, that first visit, it's all about building database, figure out what you guys got coming in, what's going to be available, all that stuff. But, having a good right. with your coach, AKA mentor, or the ultimate mentor, right. is so important, because you, Coach Heffler, you're coming in, you're talking to the coach. You're not talking to me, right. as the player. Right. But over time, if the process moves forward and they feel comfortable after they see your attributes and your physical makeup and everything like that, and your film, they're going to, remember him, the coach said that, he's a good kid, he's got good grades, whatever, boom. That is going to open a lot of doors and create interest. And so I want to talk to you specifically about how important it is, because now you're in this JC world locally. You were a kid here locally. Now you get to meet these coaches right. a little bit deeper. Because it's turf war around here, right? And so you got to really be able to evaluate these coaches. But most importantly, when you build relationship with the coaches as a young student athlete, young player, that could make or break, opportunities, many opportunities. Let's think of it like this. It's a professional reference.
100%,
signing off, moving forward. And if also, side note, if a coach recommends a kid to you, Coach Heffler, to go to Culver Stockton or wherever, and he was lying, now they ain't coming back to your school. So as a young student athlete, it's so important to have a good relationship with that coach, because I went off on
all good
tangent there, but it's so important to have a good relationship with the coach. Now, you're not always going to have good coaches. When I say good coach, let me define that. A coach that's going to kind of go above and beyond to help you out. Some of them are just, how coaches are. There are bad coaches that aren't going to help you, that don't want nothing to do with you at certain points. But having a good relationship with them regardless is key to opportunities. So I just want you to talk about that relationship with coaches as far as opportunities moving forward.
100%. It is really imperative to have a great relationship with your position coach, let alone your head coach. For example, I'm still very close with my high school head coach. He's one of the main reasons why I got into coaching. Coach Richard Sanchez coached me at St. Augustine High School. I'm very close with him as well. I'm also close with my position coaches as well. I had the incredible opportunity to work with, Coach Joe Kramer. I had the opportunity to work with Coach Matt Stern and Coach Gary Osberg and Coach John Roberts. Some of them are still coaching college and high school football, but I talk to them on a regular basis. And, I really look up to those guys a lot. And I think I think they're good men, and I think, they carry themselves well, and I lean on them for advice a lot. And, again, just the type of relationships you build at the high school level, like as a student athlete, is that a lot of the coaches, they're going to be there for you. And then again, right, this is a relationship oriented organizational business type structure, right? If you really think about an organizational structure, right, it really comes down to the people, right? Content, scheme, and everything, that's great, right? But you need to be able to make sure you're maximizing and making sure that you are, heavily investing in your players. And I think from a high school student athlete standpoint is just know that you are valued. And, the more that you can get around your coach, right, going in the office, casually dropping by, talking to them after practice and continue to open up to your coaches, you'll find out real quick that more often than not, those coaches care about you. It's not about, let alone like what the coach knows. It's more of what that the players understand, that they know that they care about them. So I think that from a player perspective, you got to continue to develop that relationship, because they will serve as your mentor, not only, when you're getting recruited by whatever college that may be, or past college. And again, whatever the case may be, additionally at the college level, you're going to develop great relationships, with your college coach. For example, I still talk to my college head football coach, John Walsh, at Pomona-Pitzer, very frequently. And I talk to, my position coaches that were there as well. I talked to the offensive coordinator, Coach Brian Carroll, fairly frequently. And, it's important that, that the coaches, the great coaches that you're going to strive to be like, a better man, a better husband, they're going to teach you how to do that. And they're going to be there for you when you need help. So,
yeah. Well, there's a great point that you made in there. And it's not so much that they have to know everything, right?
Correct.
Especially when it comes to the recruiting, whether it's a position coach or whatever. Some of these guys are just, part of the high school programs because their kids going through the program. They want to see you succeed, and they just want to be there and want to motivate, inspire,
right,
whatever. And those could be some of the best coaches you could ever be around, because we're talking about mentality, from the mental side of the game, as you go through all these different, things in those 4 years of high school, right? 13 to 18 or whatever the ages are, it's good to have those folks around you. And like you said, you build those relationships with them and you keep in contact with them through the whole, as you're going through what you're going through. But yeah, that to me, like, I had to bring that up because coaches, especially your head coach, really makes a big difference, in my opinion, when it comes to the recruiting aspect. And the great thing is when you do decide to commit somewhere, you end up going there, you take pictures with those coaches and it lasts a lifetime. And that's one of the most gratifying things, I think, when you're seeing a kid leave, right? So if you're going to Southwestern College, some of you young student athletes, listen, you take a picture with Coach Heffler after 2 years, you get your associates, didn't think it would ever happen. All of a sudden you go there, you develop physically, mentally, emotionally. Now you've got an opportunity at a D2, D3 NAIA, whatever it is, maybe a D1, depending on your situation and timing. It's the greatest feeling ever, man, especially for coaches, from the coaches side of it all too. Yeah. Let's talk about so moving forward, I want to talk a little bit about springtime recruiting, because we're talking earlier about being patient in the process, because everybody, everybody's being blessed to receive now on all the social media sites, putting all the schools that they're getting recruited by. And how about this? What's an offer? Let's talk about what an offer is.
Right.
No, explain what an offer, what that actually means to you young student athletes.
Absolutely. So when it comes down to an offer, you got to make sure you do your research on the school, because Division III schools cannot give athletic scholarships, right? However, they can meet need-based and they can give you merit scholarships. The school can, not directly the coaches. And again, not a lot of people know this. The NAI level, they can give athletic and academic scholarships. It's just very similar to Division II, right? And then at the Division I level, you'll have a certain percentage of that scholarship, like how much it's accounted for, because again, within the recruiting, like roster, again, like whatever money they're allotted, right? That's how much they can fork out. And then NIL obviously plays a factor, but that's a whole other can of worms I don't want to explore right now. But an offer is, right, there's a difference between a verbal offer and a committable offer, right? A verbal offer, you stood out on film, a coach really wants to garner your attention and really wants to get you out to a visit. Hence, you probably make a visit out there or get evaluated at the prospect camp, and they're going to give you a verbal offer, meaning that they're very heavily interested in you. And they hope that your college choice of that school moves up to your high priority list to, want to commit and want to, continue to develop a relationship further, right? So a verbal offer means that the school is heavily interested in you, right? And they're probably just waiting to see what the recruiting budget is, sometime after, in the August or September period. And then that will lead to further evaluation. And then, that's when, they'll say, hey, we're going to evaluate your first 4 games. So it's another opportunity, maybe, you played last year at 175, but now you are 195 as a linebacker, right? So they want to see that on film, see if, if you're bigger, faster, stronger, just to put it lightly, and just make sure that their eyes are correct. And then again, right, there's a committable offer means, you ball out of camp, you're doing a great job on film. They love your film, right? They've already contacted your high school head coach and they've met you on campus, right? Maybe they're going to come check you out at a certain game or a camp, right? And they just don't need to see anything else further. And you meet their GPA requirements, they're going to give you an offer on paper, right? And this is a committable offer, meaning that it has your scholarship breakdown. It has how much you are going to have to fork out, how much, if you have to fork out any money, how much, like if everything's covered, or you might have to pay for books or other school supplies, and right, your housing and everything, they'll lay that out for you. So a committable offer is a chance for, okay, like this school has given me, it's like a serious committable offer to the point where, okay, I could commit tomorrow, and, is there an expiration on an offer? It's essentially getting a job offer, and it's like, again, going throughout that process and being able to know like, when does this offer expire? Because again, right, a school is not going to wait forever for you to, make a decision, because their jobs are on the line, and also they're recruiting other guys as well. Obviously, a lot of coaches, college coaches, will be very upfront with you and very honest with you with where you're at on their recruiting board. Again, however, right, they may be more lenient towards the number 1 safety on their board, to have a couple weeks to decide, than they are for the, number 3 guy on their recruiting board at safety to take about 5 weeks to decide, right? So they're going to give you a time frame and let you know like how long you have. Usually, a lot of programs will give you a committable offer, in the fall time, or even right before signing day as well, to kind of not pressure you, but hey, like we're going to make a serious investment in you. And we want you to, hopefully be whatever school's mascot that is, insert name, right? And again, you just got to make sure you do your research, because again, some programs aren't allowed to give athletic scholarships. Some schools can, cover your tuition, but they can't cover your housing, right? So you got to factor in all the different factors.
Yeah, it's crazy. So for the viewers at home, just so they, if they're obviously interested, but talk about the big board. Talk about the board. You're talking about the boards. People are gonna be like, well, what the heck does that mean? Talk about the recruiting. The big board.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So when it gets, obviously, you get your long list of names. You get, your the high school coaches send out their prospects every single year to the college coaches they have a great relationship with. College coaches will reach out to high school coaches or players, to like have them fill out a recruiting questionnaire to get them in their database. And then kind of goes through a funnel process, essentially, where now, the head coach, the coordinator, and the position coach, more often than not, the position coach will evaluate that player. And then, once that they feel like they're ready to show the rest of the staff, I'm not familiar with how every program does it, but then the coach will showcase that player to the entire staff, and the staff, will decide, what they want to pursue further. And, if they want to, treat him as an offer kid or get him, high on their board. The recruiting board is basically, their list of guys, like their dudes, their dude player or guys that they want to be, whatever the school's mascot is, right? They want them to be there, right? So they'll put you on a big recruiting board and have you, rank versus other guys they are recruiting. And again, the rankings could change, because maybe player A is a very good football player, right? But player B, has a higher GPA, player B, and player A could be slashed. Like they could be at the same level, right? Maybe they're deciding between 4 different players on who they want to offer, and they have each the 4 come visit campus, and they evaluate everything, how they are, if they're having a meal, how they treat their family, how they, if they have great eye contact, if they're very direct, if they're very interested, if they're not on their phone a lot during the visit, right? And if they're obsessed with learning about how they will be a great fit for that program. And I think, that's really what it comes down to, what the recruiting board is, because again, everything is an evaluation, no matter what level of college football, because coaches' lives are at stake. This is their livelihood. It's a tough profession, so you got to make sure you're again, how you pointed it out, Coach. Coaches oftentimes they got to be gamblers, and they got to do their homework and do their due diligence to be able to, feel confident that they're bringing in the right type of student athlete that they feel really tremendous about as well.
Yeah. So as we're going through this process, I know we're kind of dancing around a little bit, but I think this is one thing definitely not to brush over. And we talk about it. We're going to talk about visits now. And I don't think that we dissect it or break it down, the importance of first impressions on these visits and what coaches are looking for, whether it's the eye test or questions that you ask, right? Or just showing engagement. Shout out Brad Cagle, one of my former players. He's at the next level right now coaching. And I asked him about that. And I said, we don't talk about that enough. And I think like if you make a good first impression on a visit, or say you're at a camp or you're at a showcase or anything like that, like coaches want you to wow them, right? Especially physically, right? I mean, I've had coaches come in, like Coach Tony Sanchez over at New Mexico State, shout out. He was asking, I said, so what are you looking for? He said, oh, we're looking for safeties. I said, look at this guy over here. Do you know who he is? And he's like, no. Oh my gosh. He's like, I'm like, yeah, he's 6'1". He's 185, 190 pounds. And he was like, okay, let's go talk to him. Just immediately, right? So I think that's really a big point when it comes to recruiting. So in your visits, so it doesn't matter whether it's a first visit where the coach is trying to fill a database, or it's a second visit where they're, coaches are really dialed in on specific players. But talk about how important it is to have good first impressions, and not only first impressions. How can a student athlete, what do they need to do to make to what's the word for it? Have a good have a good first impression.
No, I think it really comes down to, how they conduct themselves, in a professional setting. Because again, a game day visit, an official visit, or even when a coach visits them at the high school level, it's a professional setting. So you need to conduct yourself in a certain manner, and you need to essentially be yourself too. You don't need to put on a show or be a politician and give them very broad and answers. You need to be yourself and just let them know that, like, at the end of the day too, right? You need to conduct yourself professionally, like no swearing and everything like that. But you need to make sure that they know like who they're getting, right? And if you don't want to pretend to be someone you're not. You want to make sure that you are yourself. If you're a good family man, and like it's cool to have your whole family at the visit. I think that's awesome. It shows your family's a big deal for you. If you don't treat your parents or your family members, your grandparents or your aunt, uncle, whoever comes with you on the visit, or a coach that comes with you on the visit, like that's very telling. You need to make sure that, again, you are conducting yourself at the highest level, because everything is an interview. Like, again, the first impressions, like, you might look great on film, you might look great, on the field, but, coaches can tell, character really fast, and I think character is a huge thing that, also too, they understand that you're 17 to 18 years old, you're not a grown man yet. You still have time to develop, and they want to make sure that, they can work with you as well, have a good working relationship, but at the same time, have a great player to coach relationship, because at the end of the day too, coaches like at college level, right? They're not your friends, right? They're professional, right? They want to make sure they develop you to be able to, get a degree, right? Whether it's an associate's degree or, your bachelor's degree, they want to make sure that you are set up for the rest of your life and make sure that you are all in as well.
Well, it's less drama. Like I said earlier,
Yeah.
I mean, it's like you could potentially be at a school for 4 years with this young student athlete. I mean, oh my gosh, they're just not, I don't know. It's just, you're trying to balance that risk versus reward. You don't know, right? You only have a short amount of time to really get to know these young student athletes. And there's so many of them. And, quick story, we had a kid that was a bounce back from San Jose State. Of course, won't name a name, but he was an incredible defensive tackle. Guy just explodes off the ball, comes and plays for us, bounces back, of course, plays, 2 years, and he's getting recruited by everybody. They're like, oh my gosh, he's out there and available. Mm-hmm. Well, at least one of the visits, he had no shirt on. He was wearing a lava. He's wearing shoes. Like, what are you doing? And this is in front of I don't remember who it was, Florida State or whoever. I'm like, what are you doing? Like this. So I just bring that up because it's like, it happens more times than not when guys can hurt themselves in this recruiting process. It's like, what in the world were you thinking? Because, you're talking about being a 17, 18-year-old kid. And even in that case, he was 19, 20. You're still a young kid. And you want to just maximize your opportunities and show these coaches that you mean business, whether it's for 2 years after Southwestern or it's 4 years or 5 years, right, coming out of high school. So so that's just a, real big key coaching point that I think we overlook big time, and I won't go off on this too much, me being a strength conditioning guy, the eye test and being physically, coaches are manly men, you're talking about guys that are somewhat meatheads, they want the biggest, the strongest, I wouldn't say gladiators, but no. You're wanting guys that are going to fit the bill on the field and aren't going to have to deal with injuries and all those kinds of things, because if you're not on the field, whether it's because of your academics or physical, you get hurt. I mean, you're no good to anybody, right? So I think that's a real important key point. And but moving forward, a couple more questions before we get you out of here. But no, it's so as you're going through this process. So say now you're committed, now you're moving forward. The decision-making process. So what are non-negotiable? You got to have non-negotiables, right? With your parents, family. You're getting ready to commit, getting ready to move forward. Pressure is getting on you. What are some non-negotiables for kids that you have to have so you don't go into this process? You go to the school and now all of a sudden, you don't know what the academics are. You don't know what the program's like, how you're a good fit or not. Yeah.
I think that, again, it comes down to your research that you do. If you want to be an engineer, and the school does not have engineering, maybe that doesn't necessarily mean you can't go to that school. That just means how dedicated are you to be wanting to be an engineer? If you want to go to law school after schools, you got to factor that in. Do they have a good law program, or you have to, is there a better school, something else, if you want to be a doctor and do the pre-med route, that, certain factors you have to really decide. But again, right, I changed my major 3 different times. I thought I wanted to be an attorney because I watched one episode of Better Call Saul, you know what I mean? And then I quickly realized I'm not a good liar, so I can't be an attorney. And then I thought I wanted to be an investment banker and go into finance, but after I watched Wolf of Wall Street, but then I realized I'm really bad with numbers. So then I really thought to myself and said, I want to be a college football coach and want to do this for a living and see how high I can possibly do, because it's based off of the mentors and relationships that I've dealt with, both at the high school and college level. But you need to figure out, you might not, your chances are you're not going to have it figure out what you want to do from a, a bachelor's or your education perspective. Like you're not necessarily, you don't have it figured out, it's good that you're going to be undecided. So I think that's important. I think another non-negotiable too is you got to make sure, and here's the thing too, if the coaches have a good track record, I think that's very important, because, this profession, is like any other profession. Coaches are going to, circle in, circle out, and they're going to, go on to different programs. It's just part of the business. You can't tell kids to not better their lives if the coaches don't do the same. You know what I mean? So opportunities are going to come up for coaches, and you got to make sure that, not necessarily you're going there for the coach, because of that certain coach, you're going there for the school. And I think the quality of life component is a huge, huge factor, because at the end of the day, what are you doing throughout the rest of the hours out of your day? What is there to do around the area, right? What is going on from a campus perspective? What activities are there to do, in the area, or what can you get involved with if you want to, volunteer your time or get a job in the area like that? Those factors need to, go at the highest level, I think, is the quality of life. Because again, you want to have a great 4-year experience. It's going to be work. It's going to be tough and hard and mentally taxing work, but you might as well enjoy it and build great relationships. I think another non-negotiable too is, you are asking all the right questions that you value, because at the end of the day, it's up to what you value and what you value as important, and to be able to make it work financially, I think is very important as well. So.
Yeah. No, it's a great point. I was talking to Coach Moose up at Ventura College, and we were talking about how important that is, because and he always brings up it's all about right fit for you, and the right fit meaning academically, knowing if that's right. You have your first, second, and third choices for the major or the professional degree, or the rest of your life degree that you're wanting to go into. He said, we're talking about geographic location, right? You just got to know where you're coming from. If you're coming from Southern California, especially San Diego, I mean, no shade on some of the schools like Southwest Minnesota or wherever, there's that much turnover, because it's like, guys, you got to understand it's -20 or whatever it is,
But you also, I will say too, you got to also factor that, it is good to branch out and go to different parts of the country, to live on your own. I think that's really awesome too. And also too, you also got to factor in too that, how often are you going to be able to go to and back home? You're going to be there for 3 to 4 months, but then you'll have, 6 or 7 weeks off for Christmas or winter break. And then, some schools, right, you go all the way from January to April or May, and then you have 3 months off, or you might have to report back early. So again, right, you're not going home as much as you think, right? So again, you got to just ask yourself what's important. And, if the opportunities for you there at, hours away from where you're located, you might want to seriously consider that offer as well. Everyone's different too, what they value, but yes.
Well, yeah. Well, this part of the, what we're talking about, this part of the conversation, you're assuming that we're coming out of high school and you have those opportunities. So if you don't have those opportunities, say you graduate from a JC, you're only going to have a certain amount of opportunities. So, in high school as well, but say those are your only opportunities, right? Mm-hmm. Beggars can't be choosers all the time. So if you 100%. Really want to go and play, and this is what you have available, then you just start breaking it down. And I always tell kids, I'm like, and like you just said, I went to Utah State. It was in Logan, Utah. Shout out Logan, Utah. It was, oh my dude, like the whole 3 or 4 of those months, it barely got above 0. Yeah. But listen, I had some of the best times of my life out there. Right. We trained hard. We were inside all day, of course, but we busted our butt. And listen, I come from the West Coast. I never would have experienced that cold weather and, all the people I was around and stuff like that. So, you have to look at it in those terms. And I always love that phrase, beggars can't be choosers, because I get tired of kids thinking, I have this opportunity, of that opportunity. I take this, take that. Listen, man, if that's what you got and you really want to pursue this, make a choice and stick with it. And don't go for the coaches. Go for yourself. Go for the program. Go for the the academics, on campus, like you said, maybe off campus life, get involved, enjoy it, man. Go have some fun. Right. You'll learn more about yourself, man. I promise you did at the school you went to. I mean, come on, man. It doesn't matter where you're at, Division III, Division II. Listen, there's nobody in those towns. So everybody knows everybody, which some people don't like, but everybody. Those relationships are tight, man, tighter than high school a lot of times.
Right.
So, and then, when like at Division I, for example, a lot of kids, it's high profile. You don't get to meet everybody. You don't get to do this. You don't get to be a student athlete because you're dealing with all of the external things that just are, rough and a total pain in the butt. But listen, before I get you out of here, I'm going to ask you one last question.
Yeah, absolutely.
We've been talking about, the junior college route and everything like that. Talk about a day in the life of a next level student athlete. So if they're thinking the vision of what it's like, they're not sure what is it like from the moment they come on campus in the fall all the way through just one year, especially their freshman year.
Yep. No, so at any level of college football, it's going to be work. It's not everyone can play college football at every single level. Not everyone can do it because, it requires discipline and it requires you to hold yourself accountable, in every single facet. So, a lot of programs are different on how they conduct workouts, but for the most part, a lot of workouts will begin very early in the morning, to try to get you up and make sure you're in peak physical condition, because that's a big factor as well. And it's before all your classes too. And then usually after the lift, whatever the case may be, you will then have to, go get breakfast and then go to class for a few hours. And then you'll come back and you'll have meetings and then more meetings. And then you'll have practice, right? And then, a lot of times there will also be study hall that you're required to go to as a student athlete. If you're an incoming freshman, a lot of times, yes, you probably had a good GPA in high school. Yes, whatever the case may be, or no, you didn't. But more often than not, you're going to have study hall or a tutoring session that you're going to have to go to as well for your chemistry class, right? If you're struggling in math or, economics, you're going to have to go to tutoring sessions. So you got to maximize, and that's what college is for. At any level, is to have proper time management skills, right, and be able to devote your time externally. So again, you're having study hall after practice, after you get dinner and everything, and then you got to do homework, right? You got to do more homework, and you got to make sure that your body's well rested too, and you're making sure you're getting treatment when you need to, and making sure that you're in peak physical condition to be able to do the same thing the very next day. It feels like Groundhog Day half the time. It's the rinse, recycle, repeat, right? Like rinse and repeat, right? It's gonna feel like the same day all the time, But that's what makes obviously Saturdays a lot more fun, and traveling on the road, and also, having home games, homecoming or senior night, that more exciting because you're not so solely focused on the outcome, is that you are doing the preparation needed to be able to help your team win in whatever facet of the game as possible. But again, it's different at all levels, but again, you're going to be tested mentally, physically, and emotionally to see if you are up for the task to play college football, because you might have been a great player in high school, and it turns out when you get there, everyone was good in high school. I got that phrase from my old college head football coach. Everyone was good in high school, So it's about who's going to, step up to the occasion, and who's going to truly, have proper time management skills, and who's going to be able to maximize themselves as a student athlete, and again, take advantage of those opportunities.
Yeah. So all right. So last question. I'm gonna throw one at you. So let me get this. Let me phrase this right. So last question. So with Coach. So why would Southwestern be the place to go? Why would junior college be the place? So if that's the last route, why would they go JC, and why would they go to Southwestern?
Absolutely. Well, the first thing is you're going to know you're going to be taken care of from the football staff at Southwestern College. We have top class facilities. We're located in Southern California, San Diego, California, in the South Bay. We have amazing facilities. You have a chance to really maximize yourself as a student athlete and propel yourself forward. And from the athletics department on to our the rest of the staff, we're all very aligned. And we're making sure we give you guys a first-class experience because we want to show that we care about you. But again, the reason why, I would choose the junior college route is because it's a chance, maybe you're not ready yet or you want to get a better offer. And you feel like you want to take a chance on yourself and you want to continue to mature and continue to grow because again, right at the junior college level, we put our guys through a Division I model. Like if you want to go and play at the next level, right? You want to play on Saturdays. Well, you got to make sure you put in the work, right? And it's not nothing special. It's just hard work and consistency and keep stacking good days. And again, right? We want to make sure, like, if you're serious about this, we're going to put you through, a lot of preparation, a lot of work to be able to help make sure you're ready. Because a lot of times student athletes don't realize that it's a serious commitment, whether you're playing at, whatever level that is, it's a serious commitment. And we want to make sure that you're serious about it as well. And we want to make sure that you're going to be held accountable for your academics. And we want to do everything we can to help give you a tremendous opportunity to showcase your abilities and for you to continue to develop as a young man. So,
yeah. For you parents and you young student athletes out there, listen, there's a lot going on down there at Southwestern, a lot of buzz. Listen, he's exactly 100% spot on, great academics, great facilities. And more importantly, you got a lot of great coaches down there that definitely want to see you succeed and flourish. And you guys are young down there. You guys have come straight from the college, straight from those Division I, II, III, all those different levels. So you guys all have all the goods to help these guys get to where they need to be. And you got some really good players down there too, man. I'm super excited, especially those South Bay, those big boys. Listen, I really appreciate you coming on the show. Super excited for everything, like I said, moving on down there at Southwestern and everything you personally have going on, Coach. And can't wait to see it. I'll definitely be at some of the games and when you come by maybe some practices and stuff like that. But is there anything you wanted to shout out before we got you out of here?
I just really appreciate your time and thanks for having me on, and go Jaguars.
Absolutely. And hey, listen, go to YouTube, go check us out, go subscribe, listen, Walk-on-Warrior. Got to put the dash in there because it sends you to some weird thing. But listen, Walk-on-Warrior. Listen, hit the bell. We got a lot of content every single week, every single day coming out, new podcasts. Listen, we got a lot of great wisdom and a lot of great knowledge for you young student athletes to be prepared. And it's all free. So listen, get on here, do your thing. And like I always like to finish these podcasts off just like this, Coach. It's not about me, Coach Z, or Coach Heffler. Listen, it's about you young student athletes. We'll see you guys in the next episode.